is your day going? Hope your day has gotten to a good start. So I'm on my way to my parents' place to pay them a visit. I'm working from home today, so I'm going to be working from my parents' place today. So come with me on this journey, and as we go, let's get gisting, okay? Let's get talking. So for this live, all right, I want to talk about a lesson I learned about parenting from the Igbo people of Nigeria. Okay, so the Igbo culture is one of the many, or the Igbos are one of the many the ethnic groups or tribes of Nigeria, and they are the economic backbone of Nigeria. Okay, so the Igbos of Nigeria are very business savvy. So they are the economic backbone of Nigeria. All right, so okay, so aside from my regular job, I'm also into fashion designing. So I do business with the Igbos. I buy fabrics from them. Okay, so over the years, I've been doing this business for close to 10 years now. So over the years, I have observed the Igbos, and I have learned one or two things about parenting from them. Okay, so, and that's what I want to talk about in this live session today. So I hope that this will help someone out there on their parenting journey, because it has helped me on my parenting journey. Okay, so the first thing I've observed about the Igbos is that the average Igbo business, all right, is usually generational. Like, you have the business started by the father. Let me just start from like a small generation. So you have the business started by the father. The mother is also involved in the business, and the children are also involved in the business. Okay, so you hardly find any Igbo business, even use the small businesses. Now let's not even talk about the big companies. So let's talk about the small businesses, the small Igbo trader. You hardly find them having sales assistants like employees. Their sales assistants are usually most often their children, cousins, family. And that is one thing that I see has helped to preserve the business culture within the Igbo tribe. Okay, so now this doesn't stop their children from going to school, all right, and this also doesn't stop these cousins or family members staying with them. This doesn't stop them from going to school. They still go to school, but when they come back from school, you find them coming back to their dad's shop, to their mom's shop, to come and continue with the business. All right, so, and let's not forget that education is not only formal. All right, there are also informal forms of education. So you find that these children of the Igbos, even though they are going to school to get formal education, they are also getting informal education from working in their father's shops or their mother's shops. If you typically go to most of the main markets in Lagos or in other parts of Nigeria, 90% of the traders in those markets, or let me say 70% of the traders in those markets, are usually Igbos. You will find one Igbo family having like 5-6 shops selling the same thing. They might be selling fabric, they might be selling whatever. So you find them there. One shop is, the father is in one shop, the mother is in one shop. maybe the other shops you have their children there. And what's the lesson that I've grabbed from this? It is the fact that the children become involved in the work life or in the business life of their parents from as early as possible. And that helps the children to appreciate the value of the work that their parents put into making money. It is rare for you to see a lazy Igbo man or a lazy Igbo woman. It is very rare. In fact, my friend, one of my friend and I one day we were just randomly gisting and we were saying that I don't think I have ever met an Igbo beggar. You know, there are people across different cities in Nigeria who how they make their own money is through begging. All right. So my friend and I were just saying that I don't think I've ever come across an Igbo man, an Igbo woman that is begging. I also don't think I've ever come across an Igbo man or an Igbo woman that was caught for stealing. At least not in Lagos. Yes, there are some part of the Igbo or some people believe that Igbos are also fraudulent. But I don't think they are fraudulent because, okay, fortunately for me, over the years since I've been doing business with them, I've not been defrauded by them. So I cannot confirm that statement that Igbos are fraudulent. I just think that they are very business smart people. So because of that smartness, a lot of people may consider them as fraudulent. All right, that is not to say that there are not some of them that are fraudulent. Actually, there are, but also again, we cannot judge every one of them by the few bad eggs. Okay, there are bad eggs everywhere, even in other countries. So there are fraudulent people everywhere. So we cannot judge the few of them by that. So back to what I was saying, it is rare for you to see any Igbo man or woman who is lazy or who is begging. They rather do business. They rather work with their hands because they have been exposed to this from when they were young. So that's a parenting lesson for me. So a lot of us parents, one mistake we make is we always try to shield our children from our struggles. And I think that's a how do I put it? That is a disservice to the children, if you ask me. You don't let the children see. I'm not saying put all your troubles on your children. No, I'm not saying make your children responsible for you. No, I'm just saying, like the Igbos, let them also see that everything is not rosy. Money don't grow on trees. A lot of us have raised our children to think that money grows on trees. So at the end of the day, these children don't even know the value of work. I'm sorry to say, I'm from the Yoruba tribe of Nigeria. I think that the Yorubas have made this mistake a lot. So a lot of us will make statements like, I don't want my children to suffer the way I suffered. So because of them, that we shield them from a lot of things. We just hand over things to them. We hand over luxury to our children. Even sometimes we go as far as handing them luxury that we cannot afford. We borrow money to take them to schools that we cannot afford. We borrow money to buy them clothes that we cannot afford. So we expose them to the luxury that we cannot afford. So now when they grow up and they begin to face the harsh reality of life, then a lot of them cannot cope. A lot of them crumble under the harsh reality of life. Why? Because we, their parents, have failed in showing them the value of working for money. So that's one parenting lesson that I've learned from the Igbos. They would involve their children in their work, even for the Igbos that have companies. that is not even, that are not traders, that have companies. So when you come to Nigeria, you find out that most of the FMCGs, most of the manufacturing companies, big companies, oil and gas sector is filled with Igbo business girls, all right, and they involve their children in these things from when they are young. So their children already know how to run the business. So eventually, yeah, it's not all the children that end up taking over the businesses, but the truth is, even the ones that don't take over the businesses, you find them going out to start their own business and they do so well in it, or you find them doing very well in whatever career that they have chosen. But I don't think, at least from the few Igbo people I know, out of 5 children, at least 2 of those children will be involved in their parents' businesses. Why? Because from when they were young, they have exposed them to how their business runs. So it's like a part of these children's lives. You get? It's like a part of their lives. So if you are working so hard, you are building businesses, but you are not involving your children in the business. They just grow up and you just want to hand it over to them. They will not value it. They will not value it. That's just the truth. A lot of people will not value things that they did not work for. So let's say my husband just hands me a new tear rubber nylon as a new car and everything. I didn't do anything for it. You understand? I didn't have to pay anything. He just hands me the car. Yes, I may value the car at first. I may love the car. I may be taking care of the car, and then maybe he fuels the car for me. If the car is faulty, he fixes it. If anything happens, I just call him and say, "Oh, your car is here. Oh, come and handle it." And he comes and he handles it. Over time, I will begin to lose value for that car. I will no longer see that car as my own. I will no longer see myself as responsible for that car. And that is the way it is with children also. When we hand them everything, we don't let them take responsibility for things. We don't involve them in our struggles. Why? Because we don't want them to suffer the way we suffer. It's counterproductive for me. It's counterproductive. And then a lot of us, if we are being honest with ourselves, yes, I know that there are a lot of people that grew up in abusive homes and all of that. I went through emotional abuse, physical abuse and all of that. But if we are going to look at it again, so some of the things that we considered as suffering when we were growing up was not really suffering. It was discipline. It was our parents trying to discipline us. So when we were growing up in those days, the concept of having house helps and all of those things wasn't very rampant. So we have children getting involved in chores from as early as you can think about it. I know that I started going out to fetch water in the neighborhood from as early as age 7. All right, with small bucket and all of that. I also know that growing up, I lived in a compound where we used to take turns to clean the compound. The tenants used to take turns to clean the compound. So from as early as 8, 9, 10, I started waking up early in the morning to sweep the entire compound, and that's how we were introduced to doing chores and all of that. And then we didn't see it as suffering, no, we saw it as fun. Because in the mornings, early in the morning before you go to school, you have all the children in the compound carrying buckets, going out to fetch water. It was always fun. During weekends, we have to fill big drums of water for our parents. But all these things are no longer there. Our children don't do these things anymore, because now we all live in houses where there is pumping machine to pump water into the house and all of that. And gradually children are beginning to lose the value of hard work. A lot of children don't understand the concept of hard work anymore. You see a 13-year-old boy or girl that cannot dress themselves up. They have to rely on the house help to bathe them, to dress for them. You see a 16-year-old that can't make their own meal. They have to rely on ourselves to make their meal. And then you see these people growing up into young adults that can't do most things for themselves. Then because everybody is trying to get their children to finish school early these days, you find 16-year-olds, 15-year-olds getting into university, and they are barely independent on their own. They can't do anything for themselves. And all of these things accumulate together to affect the child's, number one, the child's esteem, number two, the child's sense of independence, because they can't do anything for themselves. So it exposes them to being taken advantage of. So it goes beyond, I don't want my children to suffer what I suffered. It runs very deep. It runs very deep. So what's my point in this, all this by plenty talk? My point is, let's learn to introduce our children to work. It's not, everything is not about fun. Yes, I know that there are a lot of people advocating for be friends with your children, have fun with your children, go out with them. All of that is great. All of that is good. But in doing all of that too, let's also so in doing all of that too, let's also not forget introducing the concept of work to our children. Let's not forget introducing the concept of the real life to our children from as early as possible. You know, the funny thing is that we always think that children won't understand these things. But the truth is, when they are young, from age 3 upwards, is even the best time to introduce them to all of these concepts, because at this time their minds are still very open to learn new things, to learn new concepts and all of that. So this is the time, when they are young, is the time to mold them, to instill in them all the values that we want them to have. Okay, so how do we even start this concept of introducing children to work? It starts from chores. When we were growing up, we had daily chores that we had to do. It could be you that is washing the plates this week. Next week you are taking out the trash. The next third week of the month, maybe you are the one sweeping the house. So there was a routine around chores, and that helped to build our independence as we went. Okay, so let's bring back all of these things. It's not suffering. We thought it was suffering then, but now that we are older, we know it's not suffering. So let's bring back all this concept of routine. Let children be introduced to routine. Let's introduce them to doing chores. Let's help them to learn independence. Let them be able to do things for themselves. Okay, so, and then this is not even about girls alone. It should be boys and girls. Okay, I was somewhere one day with my daughter, and she was helping her younger brother out. I can't remember what she was doing for her younger brother. And then one woman made a comment. She said, "Oh, this girl, she's really trying though." Anyway, it's because she's a girl. That's why it's good to have a girl as a first child. And in my mind, I was like, no, that's wrong. That's a wrong mentality. If she were a boy, she would have still been able to do those same things that she is able to do as a girl, because that is the way I would raise my children, whether it's a boy or a girl. My son is just 3, but he has his own chores that he does. He knows that he's the one to take all the dirty clothes to the laundry basket. He knows that when we are done with food, he's the one to pack the plates and clean the dining table. You know, we started this when he was maybe a year plus. So now it started out from him saying his sister taking the plates to the kitchen, him wanting to help out, and that was how we started. And now it has just become like a regular thing for him. You don't have to tell him anymore. He's already used to it. And that's how teaching concept, any concept whatsoever that you want to teach to your children, that's how to start. you include it in the everyday part of their life. All right, and before you know it, you are not forcing them to do it anymore. If they see it as a that's the wage. Okay, they see that that's the wage. You no longer have to force them to do it. You no longer have to instruct them to do it. Once you introduce it to them early, they just grow up thinking that, okay, that's the way things should be done. And then you don't have to talk so much again. So let's do better in our generation. So a lot of us are complaining. We complain about the Gen Zs. For those of us that work in very flexible work environment, we have a lot of Gen Zs working under us. And trust me, it's a bit difficult working with these people. Why? Because a lot of them, yes, they are very outspoken. They will speak up for themselves. They will demand things. But the truth is, if you have been honest with us, with ourselves, a lot of them do not deliver value. They do not deliver value. They are just very outspoken. They just know how to blow their own trumpets. But if you have been honest with ourselves, a lot of them do not deliver value that is at par with the demands that they make. And it's not their fault. It's the fault of our generation or the generation before them. We didn't teach them to deliver value. We didn't teach them to add value. A lot of them became outspoken based on, they saw a lot of things that are wrong in our own generation. So they were emboldened to be able to speak up. That's a good thing. I'm not against that. But how are you speaking up when you are not even bringing value? Okay, so you are coming to me, I'm your line manager at work. You are coming to me to tell me that, you want to be coming to work 3 times a week physically. You don't want to come 5 times a week physically anymore. That's fine, but the question is, the 5 times that you have been coming before, can you show me proof of the work that you have been doing in those 5 times a week that you have been coming? Can you show me the proof of your efficiency? Can you show me the proof of your effectiveness that will make me, be confident enough that if I allow you work from home 2 days out of 5 days a week, you still deliver value? I'm still chasing you to deliver, to submit your weekly report on time when you are coming to work 5 times a week. How much more when you don't come every day? How do I confirm that you are working? So that is it, and it starts from the home. It starts from the home. You have raised children who cannot do anything for themselves. So because of that, when they get into the real world, they are not able to withstand this pressure. And because they are not able to withstand pressure, we have a lot of mental health issues. We have them going into drugs. We have alcohol consumption increasing. So it's a chain. It's a cycle, really. From something as little as getting your children to do chores, getting your children to be independent. You see the cycle. You see the cycle when you don't introduce them to independence, the value of work and all of that. You see the cycle. It creates a big mess at the end of the day. And we can prevent all of this just by doing the right thing. Let's stop handing over things to our children. Let's stop handing over luxury to our children. I always say something. A lot of people laugh at me when I say this thing. But I always say that, why should my 16-year-old son be able to drive a car when he cannot cook rice for himself to eat? It doesn't make sense. You shouldn't be driving my car when you cannot even wash the car. Like, you are able to drive after you learned how to drive. You can drive around the area and all of that. In Nigeria, you are not even supposed to be driving if you are not up to 18. But we have a lot of people, 16-year-olds, driving around, which is wrong by the way, but people do it. So, but how do you have access to my car? You are able to drive it, but you cannot even clean the car. Make it make sense. How do you have a room to yourself that you cannot even clean up the toilet by yourself? How are you an adult and you're already working and you go into the restroom of your office and you use the restroom and you cannot even clean up after yourself when you are done? I see this a lot of times and it annoys me. Like someone just stepped out of the restroom in the office and you walk in right after them and what you met there is so you feel like going back to slap the person. It starts from all this. It starts from we claiming that I don't want my children to suffer what I suffered. It's bull crap. Train your children, discipline your children. I'm not saying flog them or I'm not saying put scars on them or anything. But you know that even if you start discipline early, you don't even have to use cane. No. You don't have to use cane if you start early enough. See, the problem is that a lot of us don't start early enough. We don't start discipline early enough. We don't start training early enough. We now want to start when the children have already gained their own values. Because the truth is that when it comes to instilling values in children, there is no vacuum. It's either you instill the right values in them or they pick up their own values from around them, which may not be the right values. So there is really no vacuum when it comes to parenting. So start early, have your own family values, value of hard work, see a lot of people now, especially in this social media era, you have a lot of people wanting to make money, but they don't even know how to make the money. They just want to make money. They just know that there is money and they want to make it, but they have not even been taught, number one, how to make money, how to convert value into money. They have not been taught that. Number two, they have not been taught how to handle money. All right, it's one thing to know how to make money. It's another thing to know how to handle money when you make it. And that's what is missing for a lot of people these days. And you have a lot of young people who, some of them through hard work, make money, but at the end of the day, they are unable to manage the money, and then they lose the money, and they are not even being equipped to withstand pressure. And then you have them, unfortunately, going over the edge, going to go and put their hands into things they should not be putting their hands into. You have them going into fraud. You have them going into ritual, going to do rituals and all of that to make money, when you can just convert value into money. But because you have not built them, you have not trained them to first of all even see the value of hard work. We just said we have a lot of parents these days just telling their children, see your mates are already bringing money, your mates have already started taking care of their children. But the question is, did you, the parents, raise your children first of all to know the value of hard work, to know the value of money, to know how to convert their intellect into money, to know how to convert their expertise or their skills into money. Unfortunately, the school will not teach these things. These things will not be taught to children in school. So it comes back to the parents, and that's where I started from. That's the value or the lesson that I've learned from the Igbos of Nigeria. They start early. They train their children to work early. Morning, sir.
How are you?
Fine, sir. Well,
I purposely struck you.
yes, sir.
How is everything?
Fine.
Are you military officer?
No, sir.
I like your greeting. You're a friend of ours.
Yes, sir. Police is our friend.
You say?
Police is our friend.
I like it.
Well done, sir. Thank you, sir.
Oh, you have anything?
No, sir. Thank you, sir. Okay. Stopped by the police. Okay. So, as I was saying, so that's one lesson that I've learned from the Igbos of Nigeria, and I hope that this my plenty talk has helped you to, maybe I didn't put it or I didn't put it the right way. I hope that I did, but even if I didn't, I hope that you shall understand the concept of what I'm trying to say. So let's stop shielding our children from our struggles. All right, let's stop handing everything over to them on a platter of gold. Let's teach them the value of work. Let's teach them the value of money. Let's teach them the concept of no's. A lot of us don't know how to say no to our children. When they ask for something, we just go ahead and hand it over to them. If they say for some of us, our children are the one in charge. When your children say jump, you ask them how high. Meanwhile, you, the parents, are the one who's supposed to be in charge. And one thing I've learned, all right, in my parenting is that forget it though. Children know how to be manipulative if you allow them. Children know how to manipulate people with their seeming innocence to do what they want you to do. So that's why you as a parent need to be equipped to point out or to see the manipulations sometimes behind your children's seeming innocence, especially those of us who still have very, very young children. All right. So I've come to the end of my plenty talk. I'm almost at my parents' place, so I've come to the end of my plenty talk. So let me try to recap. So where did I start from? I started from that, okay, I love the Igbo people of Nigeria. I love their business savviness. I love how they have learned to make their businesses transgenerational by bringing their children into it from when they are young. You will hardly find any Igbo person who is not business savvy. They are rare. They may have professional careers, but inside of them there's still that business acumen, that inbuilt business acumen is always still inside of them. And it starts, how do they come about this? Is because they start from when they are young. They are introduced to work, they are introduced to business from when they are young. They are introduced to the concept of hard work from when they are young. All right. And I want us to also imbibe that same you may not be a business person. It's not even about business now. You may not be a business person, but let your children understand. Auntie Blessing. So let your children understand the concept of work. Explain the work that you do. If you are not a business person, you are a career person, explain the work that you do to your children. Let your children know that money does not fall from the sky. If your organization, the organization you are working for, if they permit it, and I know that there are some organizations that do bring your children to work day, if that happens in your organization, take advantage of this. Take your children to work. Let them see you work. When you come back from work every day, have a chat with your children. Tell them about your work. Tell them what you do. Explain it to them based on their age, in a way that they will understand. Okay? Let them understand that every time you provide provide for them. You have to work to provide. Don't let them think that life is a bed of roses. Okay? And learn to say no to your children. Don't always hand everything over to them. And then let's introduce our children to chores. That's where it all starts from. Let's introduce them to chores. Let's help them to be independent from as early as possible. Let them learn to take care of themselves. Let them learn to groom themselves. Let them learn to help around the house. Okay? For those of us who are working from home, it's even a good opportunity when your children see you working. Explain what your work is all about to them. Ask them what they think about. See, children are very intelligent. If there is anything I have learned from my parents, it is that children are very intelligent if you engage them in a conversation. Yes, the conversation can go on and on, especially for those within 5 to 8 age range. But the truth is, children are interesting people to talk to. So take advantage of that. Talk to your children. Let them know the work that you do. All right? Let them know the value of. Teach them how they can convert value into money. So when your children ask you for something, let's say your daughter asks you for a doll, ask them, okay, what can you do to make money so that we can buy the doll? Ask them those kind of things. Instead of telling them, oh, I don't have the money, ask them those kind of questions. What do you think you can do to make the money to buy this doll? That's how you begin to introduce them to the concept of money. That's how you begin to introduce them to the concept of value for money. Okay? So, I hope that you have learned something very useful from this live session today. I've gotten to where I'm going to, so I'm going off the live. So thank you for joining. It's bye for now.